Good afternoon and welcome to our Facebook and Instagram Lunchtime Live series. I'm Chandra Luckett, Director of Marketing and Communications here at Chris 180, and we're excited to have you here today for the fourth installment in our series during the COVID-19 crisis. Today we're discussing staying connected while social distancing, which is a term we've heard so much over the past month. Today, we want to give you practical tips and ways to move forward as we enter a second month of social distancing during this pandemic. Today, our experts are two really qualified communicators and clinicians from our Chris 180 team. We have Dr. Jack Rayner from our Chris Counseling Center DeKalb office and Daeisha Fowler from our Westside Empowerment Center. Please take it away.
Good afternoon. I am Jack Rayner. I'm a psychologist and have been practicing for more years than probably I should tell in public, and work with the Chris Counseling Center in Decatur. I am also a writer, and as a clinician have been studying social distancing, social response to the corona pandemic crisis. We're all in the middle of this together, and so Daeisha and I are going to hope to give you the benefit of what we have learned from ourselves, from our clients, and from our community, and hope that that'll have some meaning for you.
Good afternoon. I am Daeisha Fowler. I am the mental health therapist at the Westside Empowerment Center, where I service adults 25 and older. We provide therapy there, and we pretty much provide tips and techniques and strategies on how people can respond positively to this pandemic. Definitely so.
Daeisha and I have been talking some earlier, and she's going to begin this conversation. We have three particular areas that we'd like to address over the course of the next few minutes. And so Daeisha is going to talk some about how to stay connected. So do the honors, if you will.
Yes, definitely. Of course, during this time of crisis, it is very hard to kind of stay connected. Especially during social distancing and how much we are practicing cleanliness. And over this time, we want to be able to make sure that we are connecting to others as they're going through this crisis, as well as the people who are in the population of older adults, because they are at risk during this time. So we want to be able
I see a hand in the back of the room, an older adult at risk, me.
Well, yes, and we have to make sure that, that population is very well taken care of because they are at risk.
Well, it's
especially,
go ahead now. It's hard when you think, because I'm 65, and I have been talking to my elder friends, and most of us don't think of ourselves being at risk. This is the first time in this type of pandemic that we're going, I'm a vulnerable population, and the answer is yeah.
Yeah, definitely so. And during this time, and not even just older adults, it's people with previous medical conditions, and they're at risk as well, especially those who have been diagnosed with medical conditions. So you definitely want to take care of yourself. And for those who are who don't really see themselves as being at risk, they can be social connecting with their older adults as well. So people who you may know who feel as though they're not feeling too well or experiencing some form of anxiety, you want to be able to connect with those people. It can be by phone, right? It can be through any type of virtual devices. That would be good. So yeah, definitely so.
One of the things that you and I were talking about earlier that I think really warrants some conversation is that because of the uncertainty that's in the world now, everybody's individual vulnerability begins to rise, and so wherever we are particularly tender or particularly raw, we're going to begin to be more attentive to that and more aware of it. So what do you think? How would you suggest that we plug in and stay socially connected when we are told to stay at distance from each other?
Definitely during that time, it's best, like I said before, to definitely reach out to each other. We have to be a support system for everyone, even those who may have the symptoms or who may not have the symptoms but have contracted the COVID-19 virus. So you want to be able to make sure that you you are being connected to everyone, not just those people who are who reside in those taverns and during this time. You want to stay connected to everyone. It's good to check in with everyone. And there are so many technology, like we were talking about earlier with technology. There's so many ways that you can connect with others. You have social media, you have chats, you have Zoom, right? So there are different things you can use.
And you know what one of us old people is doing? I have done this in the last couple of days. It's been great fun. Most of us get those dreadful Christmas letters somewhere in the middle of December that tell every achievement that we've ever done in the last year. I have written an Easter letter and a coronavirus letter, and I have sent it easily to 100 of my closest friends, put a stamp on it, put it in the mail that says, I'm just checking in with you. And it has been more fun for me to be able to write such a letter, put it in the mail, and now today I am expecting to start hearing back from all of my friends and loved ones. I hope they don't do this on Instagram, since I wouldn't know Instagram from instant cereal. So we're going to hope that this will come back to me in a way that I can receive it.
And I'm sure it will, because that's a part of social connecting while also practicing social distancing. So definitely so. Any form of communication would definitely help.
Send us your questions. If you have questions as we talk, if you have comments, let us know. We will definitely give you our opinion. Neither of us is in any way shy about offering an opinion. If you need the right answer, we may need to go and look it up, but we'll certainly give you the opinion that is our best frame of reference for you.
Definitely so. So it seems like we have a question.
Yes, this one comes in from a viewer online, and it says, I am 30 and single. I'm struggling with virtual connections as I miss hanging out with my friends. How can I let them know that I need more than just a text message?
It's definitely important to make sure that you're communicating first your thoughts, feelings, and emotions about how you feel. Obviously, sometimes when we do have friends, and especially during this time practicing social distancing, everyone want to make sure that they're practicing those safety measures to ensure that you avoid contracting the coronavirus. But during this time, it's also good to make sure you want to maybe take it upon yourself to maybe make those calls. You want to initiate those calls, because sometimes people are very busy during this time trying to figure out what they're going to be doing at home. And sometimes it's good to just pick up the phone yourself and kind of call them.
You know, Daeisha, I think that there's great wisdom in what you have just said. So many times we wait for people to come to us.
Right.
And I'm not so sure that that's a great idea, is that if we feel lonely, if we feel disconnected, if we feel isolated, we need to go to them. Because the longer we sit and wait and don't get the connections that we need, the more alarmed, the more resentful, the more frustrated, the more angry we're going to get. And that does nobody any good. So I really do think that that has great meaning. Reach out and touch.
Right, definitely so. Okay, we have another question.
Yes, this one comes in from Morgan on Facebook, and she comments that she loves the letter idea and wants to do a follow-up, and says, with regard to the letter, are there other ways to feel that physical connection to other people? Sometimes technology is just not enough.
Okay, the old guy gets to answer that because you just got the technology piece. I really am not great with Facebook, with Instagram, with Snapchat, with any of that. And so I look for the ways that really do satisfy me. And that for mostly, the letter thing has worked. That was a flash of creativity that I am grateful for. Phone works. I really like making a phone call. When I got my iPhone about 4 months ago, the young fellow who sold me the iPhone, he said, how many texts do you do? How many movies do you watch? How many songs have you downloaded in the last? And I said, none. He said, what do you do with your phone? And I said, I pick it up and talk on I make a call. He said, you really do? He said, that's what you really use your phone for? And I said, yes, it is what I use my phone for. And if you could find one of those little ones that would have a dial on it and would have one of those little handsets and the little curly cords that I could carry in my pocket, that would be my preference. And so I find that telephoning really is much more satisfying. I'll get a text, can you talk? And my response is, shall I call you or will you call me?
Right, definitely so. And like I said before, even through this time of crisis, unfortunately, being physically around people or being physically satisfied with being around people right now, we are not able to do that because we're practicing these safety measures. And I know it makes people feel like they just can't do anything, they're stuck, they have to be isolated and things of that nature, but it is best for right now to speak to people virtually or even through letters in the mail, because nowadays people don't do letters in the mail anymore.
No.
Not as much now that technology is pretty much taken over, but it is very beneficial.
Well, it's also great fun to find creative ways to make some type of physical contact, because when you came in, you did the elbow bump, and so what I did was the Wakandan salute. And so I also do the Vulcan, be here, be now, and then there is my favorite. I saw a dancer in therapy earlier this week, and he said, jazzy hands. And that's just such fun. That's the way to make some type of physical contact without literally touching or breathing with each other.
Definitely so. And we have another question.
Yes, this comes in from Jane, and she asked, any advice about reaching out to people for connections if you're shy? I'm not good at reaching out in normal times, and I just feel kind of awkward doing it now.
Oh, I have an answer to that, and that's going to go back to you. Do it via all of these social media things. If you are a true introvert, then you can quietly, deliberately punch little numbers in off of your telephone and say, how are you? For those of us who are more extroverted like I am, we need to run our big mouth. But for an introvert, you can reach out with those types of connections, I think, and you can speak better to that than I can.
And I was even going to piggyback off of what you said. Sometimes, even with shyness, that can definitely bring anxiety, even now, trying to get in touch with others. So you want to just be able to use those relaxation techniques before you try to call. And I'm saying that because, like I said before, it can raise a lot of anxiety, being that we have to reach out to others, we haven't spoken to people in a while, maybe family, and just trying to check on them and make sure they're okay. But one thing you want to keep in mind is that this is for the greater good of keeping our family members safe, making sure that we're checking up on our family and friends, and making sure that everyone is pretty much doing what they're supposed to do during this time.
What's your favorite relaxation technique?
I would definitely say deep breathing.
That whole diaphragmatic breathing?
Yes. And I can practice it with you if you like.
No, thank you.
But definitely
not on this type of... I'm not lying on the floor. I'm not counting to 10.
No.
But tell folks how to do
But
that.
definitely so. But what I basically practice with myself, with my friends, family, and definitely clients, we definitely just do a deep breath. And I often tell people, smell the flowers, blow out the candles, and you may have heard that on a series called On My Block. It's on Netflix. But this guy, he was saying that whenever he had anxiety, he would smell the flowers and blow out the candles, the birthday candles.
Nice.
And that basically helps you to calm down. And I usually try to do that for about maybe 10 to 15 minutes. And that usually takes, all anxiety down, and especially it works with depression as well, because it definitely helps you to relax your mind.
I like the visual images.
Definitely.
Smell the flowers, inhale, and then blow out the candles.
Yep,
that makes sense to me.
so.
Let's shift gears if we can for a minute, because I'd like to talk about reframing experience for just a couple of minutes. None of us like this. None of us have chosen this pandemic. None of us have chosen the response to it. None of us like or really have a whole lot of excitement about the social distancing. What we do have an opportunity to do, though, is to exercise choice. We have been told, go home, stay socially distant. Some choice is better than no choice. You don't have to like your choice, but to the degree that you can exercise a choice, you're going to feel more in charge of your experience. And being in charge may be as simple as, I'd like green beans rather than broccoli for lunch. But it's the making of the choice that is going to help you to reframe your experience. Now, if you can find something that is going to give you some sense of meaning, that will give you some sense of definition, where you go, how am I going to spend my afternoon? And you pick an activity that's going to leave you at the end of the activity going, not too shabby. Where you start something, where you go through it, where you finish it, where you can turn around and you can go, how am I better for that? Then what you will find is that there is more of a sense of satisfaction and peace. Thank you.
Yep, and I definitely agree with you on that. And that goes along with just occupying your time during this pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to just make sure that you're picking activities, like I said before, that can really occupy your mind, that can help you think a little bit more positive. And what I usually tell people is that during this time, you want to try to think a little bit more positive about it. Being at home doesn't always have to come from a negative perspective. And you want to be able to do things that will help you to pretty much occupy your mind, such as writing, reading, journaling, listening to music, getting more in tune with your spirituality, getting more in tune with yourself and what you like and don't like, right?
There is an old Zen saying that you can never have one end of the stick.
Right.
And so whatever you've got going, if you find that that is more negative, more disconnecting, more difficult, then flip it and see if you can find what's on the other end of it, and it may help you to find some sense of satisfaction. And I understand we have a question.
Yes, we do. This comes from Lizzie, and she asked, if I am out and someone isn't practicing social distancing, how do I nicely ask them to back up?
Oh my gosh. And have you had that happen?
I have, and nicely is the hard part.
It is the hard part.
Especially when they don't understand, or even when they don't understand the impact that they're making just by being so close together. Because I know we're about maybe 6 feet right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's always important to practice that. But in order to nicely say it, you can say, hey, I'm practicing social distancing of what's going on right now. Can you please just give me about 6 feet? And there's nothing wrong with that, because you have to protect yourself.
Sure. And so for you to just claim your space and say, I'm practicing social distancing, so I'm going back up some.
Right.
That's much more generous. What I am prone to do is just walk away. Mm-hmm. And so I am much more prone just not to say anything, which is, for me to not say anything, generally is a little harder for me, so I just back up. But I like that, as you say, I'm practicing social distancing, so forgive me, but I am going to back up. And then bite your tongue to keep from saying, and you should not be in my space.
Right, definitely. And then in that situation, I was thinking about even just being at the retail stores, because some stores are still open right now. So those who are in line trying to purchase things, you don't want to.
And it's hard. It's really hard when you get into a queue to maintain that type of distance when people are trying to cut through and move through. This is not an easy behavior to enact.
Yeah, definitely understand that.
Let us go one more piece. And what we're going to do here is pretty much give you a commercial. We've talked some about depression, we've talked some about anxiety, we've talked some about meaning. If you find that you don't have that, if you get depressed, begin to numb to your experience, if you get anxious, where you become more electric and vibrate to what's going on with the world, or if you find that you are absolutely lost, don't be afraid to seek professional help. Welcome to Chris 180. Welcome to Daeisha and Dr. Jack. We are here. Our offices are open, and there is mental health that is available to talk with you, to help you with practical strategies, to help you to make it through a very, very, very difficult time. One of the things that's nice about Chris 180 is how deeply embedded it is into the fabric of the metropolitan Atlanta community. You can make one call. You will find any number of telephone numbers, any call that you make to Chris 180. If you say, I've got a problem with domestic violence, I've got a problem with depression, I've got a problem with hunger, I've got a problem with my teenager. One call, you're going to get access to the proper people, the proper help, and you can be seen and helped pretty quickly.
Definitely so, in a short amount of time.
Yeah, because we're all over.
Yeah.
I'm new to this agency, and yet we are stretched all over the metropolitan area, and so there is help available. Now, there's a question.
All right, so we have a question that comes in, and it says, there are many celebrations I'm missing right now, and I can't take part in anymore. Are there tips on how to make these moments still special in my life? My birthday, high school graduation, and other things.
Now, I do understand that stressor, because I would say my former university, HBCU, Savannah State University, as well as
We've got the postman coming in. Hang on just a minute. Go right ahead. Let's go back to the question.
Yeah, so we know that the Georgia University school system is definitely going down right now, and that's only because of this pandemic that's going on. So during this time, it is hard, and I know for recent graduates, for people who are trying to graduate this year, especially those graduates, it's hard for them to continue with their dreams and goals because of what's going on right now.
And you know, it is such a loss.
It is.
Kids with high school graduation, birthdays, funerals. And when you can't punctuate, which is what I think these celebrations and what these rituals do, is they really do help to define how we understand our life. It is a tremendous loss. And so any kind of celebration, any type of ritual, I think is going to sort of take second best status for now. And that's a part of the price that we're having to pay socially.
Yeah, and even on social media now, I see that with graduates' birthdays and things of that nature, they're still celebrating these things on social media. It doesn't have to be, completely shut down because of what's going on. We still have social media, and I understand.
Now, would that satisfy you? Would that be okay? Because, see, I would hate that.
Yeah, I would. I definitely would. But at some point, it's all about keeping your mental health at peace and to continue to celebrate your accomplishments. Because even though, or as far as...
Well, now that makes sense. No, but that makes sense is that you really do... I use the word punctuate. And I think that that's probably accurate, is that if you do some type of ritual, it's going to give you some sense of breathing room. Right. That you can say, that was then, this is now.
Right.
So I like that. I like that.
Yeah, definitely so.
We have another question.
Okay.
So it says, do you have to be productive during a pandemic? Do you all think that extra pressure could be contributing to the stress we all feel to succeed at something during this time?
Well, I was going to say, during this time, and I know a lot of people aren't working right now, especially for those who are not working, being productive would basically help them be to be very occupied during this time, because I know if we continue to focus on this pandemic and focus on the negative aspects of what's going on, we're going to drive ourselves crazy.
Yep.
Right?
I agree 100%. If you don't find ways to employ your energy in some type of productive ways, then at the end of the day, you're going to be like Jabba the Hutt.
Right.
And that is not a great place to be sitting on high and going, this stinks. And so I am much more in agreement with you that finding a way to employ our energy to something that's going to lead, cleaning the house, taking a dog house down that you meant to do 20 years ago, putting a family scrapbook together, finding something to do that you may have put off is going to be helpful.
Right. And I was going to just say, all of that has everything to do with self-care.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, self-care definitely so. You want to be able, like I said before, to be more in tune with yourself, you know? And kind of look at this as a time for you to find things that you really like or enjoy the most.
And I think that self-care can be very, very practical.
Yeah.
And that's a lovely way to start. It's what can I do? You look around your environment, wherever you are, and you go, what's fun here? And so for me, I have a stack of books, good fiction books, and so I am going to go down my list of books. Because I'm not a TV watcher, so I don't want to watch TV, and I go, But the books sound like fun, the letter sounds like fun, and so if we can find something that's got pleasure in it,
Right.
and something that really does have an approach to joy, then it's going to be easier to go down.
Definitely so. We have a question.
So this is our last question, and it says, do you think I should have a routine? Would that be helpful in combating cabin fever?
Oh, the answer is yes, 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 yes. That having a routine, getting up at a regular time, doing your personal hygiene, having some type of an activity, if it's not a paid activity like work, having something to do that is going to give you some sense of accomplishment and achievement is going to give you a rhythm to the day that will indeed have value and provide meaning.
Definitely. And I agree with you as well. And then we also have those people, like I don't too much like routine as much. I like change.
Do you really?
I really do like change. And I say that because my boredom can really strike after I have done something and accomplished it. And I'm like, you know what? Okay, I'm done with this. I got that out of the way. On to the next. And sometimes it can pretty much help me to just keep going as long as I just keep changing up a little.
Interesting. So as long as you're being clear about what it is that you're doing.
Definitely so. And I finish it, just like you said.
Yeah. I think that finishing it is part of the key. Is if you start something, finish it.
Definitely so. So it's two different routes to that. But
Yeah.
I definitely agree with the routine. Yeah. Okay.
What else have you got for us? Questions, thoughts, responses?
All right.
Well, I think we have run out of time for today.
Oh, goodness.
Wow.
But no fear, we'll be back next week. Thank you both to Jack and Daeisha for being here today. You can connect with our counseling center locations and get help at any time. Reach out to chris180.org and you can find our counseling center locations and be able to get help via telehealth or any other options that you may need. Our trained and licensed therapists are here to connect with you and help you get through this time. We'll be back next week to talk about a different topic in our series, and we would love to hear what you want to hear from us. Please drop your questions or comments below and share with a friend because we could all use some encouragement right now. Chris 180 could also use your help. If you have the means or resources to help us help others by giving back, we'd ask that you do that today. Again, you can go to chris180.org/donate and make a donation. You can also learn more about our COVID-19 response and what we're doing to help our community during this time. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week.